Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
And I literally just finished watching Infinity War, but since I can't talk about that, I'm going to talk about this. Thanos Rising by USAopoly. I didn't want to actually throw it. I got all nervous. I was like, oh no, don't do it.
Thanos Rising is a cooperative dice and card game where you take on the role of different heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you are trying to assemble a team to take down Thanos. You're going to be rolling dice, which you're going to spend to either defeat villains or actually buy new heroes to come be on your team, and you're going to also be rolling dice that affect Thanos and him attacking you guys back. Those dice also have influence on when he acquires the different Infinity Stones, so then it adds more and more depth to the game as it progresses.
Well, it's counters to the Infinity Stone, so there are some characters with some abilities that can kind of push those counters away, thematically, pulling him further and further away from being able to reach that specific stone.
Spoiler! I didn't know he was trying to reach the stones. It's like...
The game that I most closely can relate this to is Elder Sign. It very much feels that way. You roll the dice and you have to decide what you're going to spend the dice on. You kind of have to decide what you're going to go for, right? Because you have abilities on the cards if you have those heroes already, or you have the heroes that you can try and get, or the villains that you can try and do damage to. But much like Elder Sign, I will say, it does feel very like hopeless. Like, it is a difficult game. It's not a difficult game to understand the rules of. It's very simple. Once you get, after 2 rounds, you're like, okay, I got it. However, you do feel, again, like you're going to lose this game a decent amount. That's assuming that you play it correctly. The first time I played it, my buddy Greg was like, we don't need to watch that video where you learn how to play. I got it. I got the rules right here. Don't worry about it. Here, look, you do this, you do that. And instead of spending both of the villain cards, you have to spend whatever's in that box in order to do the 1 damage. He was like, okay, as long as you do one of these symbols, that'll do a damage to it.
Greg.
And we crushed. I was like, man, this is so easy. He's like, yeah, this game's probably just designed where you win all the time.
And I do think that difficulty is something that, for me, all co-op games need. I think being beat by a co-op game fuels me into wanting to play it again. Like, no, we're doing this again now, and we're going to beat it. I know a lot of designers say they kind of stick to the 60-40, where you should win 60% of the time, lose 40% of the time. I kind of flip-flop that. I like it when co-ops beat. I like the 60% loss rate, because, again, it just fuels me to play again. Or 100% loss rate in Xenoshift. Haven't won it yet. I want to beat it.
I like to compare this game to both of the Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert games. And
because you're trapped on an island trying to escape?
Yeah. No, just the way the game is triggered with, it's like a countdown. Trying to defeat those villains before a certain amount of heroes are lost. Because once you lose those 10 heroes, you lose the game.
Or if he gets all the stones.
So it's kind of like in Forbidden Island where the island's sinking. As you're losing different parts of the island, it gets harder and harder. And then, if you ever lose the helipad, you just lose the game. It's very similar to that. And having the different powers that you're acquiring are more powerful than in Forbidden Island, where Forbidden Island you just have that one power and that's it. And here you're having powers and tokens that you can spend on other players' turns, and it feels more cooperative, and there's definitely a lot of, you're trying to go for synergies in the characters you acquire, because some characters you have get bonus dice from having other characters of different symbols.
Mm-hmm. And it is thematic that, Winter Soldier is good on the Black Panther team, because at the end of Civil War, it came out 2 years ago, it's not a spoiler, he was in Wakanda. So, I do like that aspect. I think they have a decent amount of thematics put into the different characters and stuff. However, my main complaint is going to be about the powers that the different characters have, and really about the variety of them. I don't think there's enough. I think there's just a couple different categories of powers, and that's what they have spread out amongst all the different characters. And I think in part is that, you're not going to be able to get every single character, so the characters that get you more dice, that's kind of necessary. You start with 4 dice, but you really need more, and then there's characters that get you more dice, but, a lot of them get you more dice. Some of them just straight up give you more dice. Some of them, it's required for you to have, like you said, a character of another theme. I'm sorry, of another team. Okay, so it just feels like there's characters that give you more dice, characters that heal you, and characters that... It's about it. It's mostly, okay, remove damage, roll extra dice, remove damage. Once per turn, you can change to any face. There's a couple of those. That's good. And probably the best character I like is Nebula. Add 1 damage to Nebula and remove a counter from an Infinity Stone. I think that is a really good character. The fact that their good ability comes with a negative, and then you have to decide when to trigger and how much it's worth and stuff. I feel like if they took every character and modeled it after Nebula, tried to make it as tough a decision to use their ability or not, I would have enjoyed it a little more.
I do think that my biggest complaint in the game comes into kind of the luck with... I mean, any game that relies heavily on dice, there's going to be just piles of luck. But I do think this is kind of a game where you might know round 3 or 4, like, we're going to lose this game. Because if you don't get some good dice rolls early on and get some synergetic characters, get some characters that add more dice and let you be better, because we were playing one game where I had like 6, 7 dice I was rolling every time. So like anything I set out to do almost, I was going to accomplish it because I had so many dice. Tom, like, every time he got a character, they'd like die or something would happen where he wasn't able to get more dice. And so most of his turns, he was just struggling to get more dice and wasn't really helping the team because he wasn't set up to, and all the bad guys were too hard for him to get. And you kind of get those snowballs either way, where either you're snowballing with all these dice that, oh, I can beat anything now, or you didn't get those dice soon enough and now you're just too far behind and you can't catch up.
One thing that I thought was really interesting, and it really forces you to like try and find a balance in when you acquire heroes, is the damage that your heroes take. When heroes are taking damage out in the like main board, it just keeps stacking on, and once they get to their max damage, they'll die at the end of the round. But if you were to acquire them that round, they heal up. So it kind of like negates all that time they spent out there. Once the hero is in your possession, if they take damage, they just keep taking damage. And the only way you can heal it is if you get heroes that can heal them, or some of these bonus tokens from doing damage to the different bad guys will actually heal you. So you want heroes because they're going to make you better, but once you get them, they're harder to heal. And if you have a whole bunch of them, you're put in a tough decision of who do you heal, because somebody's going to die. Like, heroes are going to die in this game.
The really good characters that have a lot of health mean that you can wait longer to get them, right? Because they have so much health means they can withstand being out there, within Thanos' wrath for a lot longer. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get this small character first because he's probably going to die. I mean, Hulk is just going to soak up tons and tons of damage, so you probably almost never need to buy Hulk. Just leave him out there. That, in and of itself, is another area where I saw they could have had some potential. Like, they take damage when they're in Thanos' ring, and then it wipes away, and they take damage when they're in, you're on your team until they die. There could have been some heroes that take less damage when they're here, take less damage when they're in here, or some kind of something. I still feel like there's a lot of good here. A lot of the design choices were good. I like the way that Thanos spins around and does damage to the heroes, but there's villains out there, so like you want to go and rescue those people, but still you have to fight back. A lot of tough decisions. I like how the Infinity Gauntlet, those things trigger. That's really cool. The way that once he gets, not only does he have the stone, he is now stronger because he has this constant ability. But I felt like they could have delved deeper. They could have, done more interesting mechanics instead of just piled on the damage. You know what I mean? Pile on the generic mechanics and make those just really detrimental. Do you see what I'm saying?
I can see the point you're trying to make there, but I can see this game being a game that is supposed to be an intro game, or just a beginner's. A lot of people are going to pick this game up because it's the first time they're seeing a game. They're like, wow, that looks interesting. I want to play this. Like, I love the Avengers. I love the Marvel Universe. I want to play this game. I want to take on Thanos and take him down. So if they would have gone too complex with all of those interesting abilities, which this game, it definitely could handle and it deserves it, but it still plays well for what it is.
I kind of agree with Aaron here. I think that when I'm judging this game, I have to look at it through the lens of like, this is USAopoly putting this game out. Typically, the games they put out are marketed more to be in like Target and Walmart and not in your local game store. And so the audience they're trying to reach is different. Whereas, like Aaron said, if they overcomplicated it, it may alienate people. Whereas this is a game that will hopefully bring more people into the fold of board gaming, because they're like, oh man, that looks really cool. Oh, look at this ridiculously oversized Thanos statue that needs to be in this game for some reason. And they're going to want to get at the table and they're going to have an easy time playing it. Now the powers are overcomplicated and they enjoy it. If Asmodee put this game out, I would be judging it completely different, I think.
I understand that, and I'm not faulting the game for that, really. There's potential here, and I think you can and probably should homebrew it a little bit if you're, a bit more of an advanced play. Like, some of the villains you could probably put to more towards the bottom of the deck, because you just mix everything together. And same thing with some of the heroes. There are some things I think you could homebrew a little bit to make it, harder or easier, or just kind of like flow a little bit better. However, the only issue that I have with this being an intro game and, being treated as such is I kind of almost wonder, but where do we draw the line? Like, when do these end? You know what I mean? Like, and it's not to say, because you had said to me the other day, you're like, well, Tom, no real serious gamer is going to stop playing. Like, nobody who played Anachrony is going to go, I'm done playing Anachrony, and now I'm going to play Avengers Infinity War. That's true. Like, and same thing with movies, right? If you like watching, like indie movies, like The Invitation or Wind River or A Ghost Story, you're not going to then go watch Transformers and go, whoa, that blew my mind. I love the Transformers franchise. That's all I'm going to watch now. Right. But the reason why they keep making more and more Transformers movies, and as much as I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're just making more superhero movies and more big budget actions, and less,
Isn't
really
Transformers
good.
a Marvel movie?
Shut up. But the reason why they keep making more and more of those is because the demand gets higher, and more generations of people get indoctrinated into understanding that, this is the type of movie that I like, and this is the type of movie I demand. So my worry is that the market will start getting more and more saturated. While this brings more people into the market and more people to play board games, which is what I want. I want more people playing board games, but I don't want the board game industry to get watered down and say, well, the things that sell the most are the least complicated and the more stripped down and the more streamlined. So that's just in general the way that the industry is going to go. That's my only fear.
Fear not. I have no fear that will happen.
I do see where you're coming from with that, and I do see I think what he's saying is I just want to make sure that more intro and more games that are targeted for Target are coming out. Just make sure it's not replacing heavier, more complicated games that we're really going to get into and really love to see hit the table. All negatives aside, I do enjoy playing Infinity War, Thanos Rising, whatever. This box says Avengers Infinity War. This
I do think it's weird that it says Thanos Rising on this side and just Infinity War on this side. I think
What's the game called?
Well, they really needed to heavily market the fact that this movie's coming out. It's a big deal, so they want to put this side on the shelf and then also not that one, and also this side on the shelf, so that people will be like, 2 things?
Buy 2 copies of it?
Like, all I need to look at is the side, and that's it in my pockets.
What kind of pockets do you have?
That's just me past it.
So all negative points aside, I really enjoyed playing Thanos Rising well as playing it. I don't think this game is going to hit the table a lot for me. One, because I do think this is a game that is targeted for Avengers fans. I like the Avengers, but I'm not ecstatic about it. I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok. I haven't seen Wonder Woman. I haven't seen Black Panther yet. So, it's just, I enjoy them, but I'm not going out of my way to see them. I definitely enjoy them on Netflix, so I don't have to wear pants. So I enjoy playing the game, but I do think this is a game that you're going to need to really like the theme to get it to the table.
I do think that the theme adds a lot to this game, but I do really love cooperative games. I feel that this game does give you a run for your money. You definitely feel like you are going all out trying to beat Thanos. every game, if you win, it's going to be really close down to the last couple turns. He's going to have all these Infinity Stones equipped, and he's going to be doing these extra crazy things and taking out of your heroes, and you're just going to feel very desperate. Like, come on, guys, as long as he does not roll the red dice again or the blue die again, we'll be fine. There are some games where it'll start out and you just have a whole bunch of villains out there and you're just gonna get crushed. You just know it, and a couple turns in, you've lost a bunch of heroes. Or you could have a game where you just crush right off the bat. You're getting really lucky die rolls and
All your villains are at the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, like it could go either way.
Well, that's why I recommend a homebrew. Would you agree? Like if you stacked it, like put the bigger villains towards the bottom, so you can gear up a little.
That would definitely balance it out a little bit if you could do that, but
kind of like Pandemic, where you shuffle the epidemics in different stages.
Yeah.
It could definitely help, but I think the way they built it is probably what factored into their 60-40 kind of split. The fact that some of, having those hard guys come out first is going to make the game really hard and make you lose a little more often. Like having that one villain out there that makes you reroll the Infinity Stone die, adding more tokens to that countdown really speeds up how quick this game is going to take.
Let's be honest, Darren. You're like, you get to roll dice. I love it. I love rolling dice.
Yeah, I definitely.
That sounds just like.
It's exactly like Darren.
So
I definitely recommend this game to anybody who likes the Marvel Cinematic Universe and loves the Avengers. If you like cooperative games, this is definitely a game that I think you will have fun playing. If you don't find it super, strategic or super hard, that's just you, but I think that it's a fun game.
So I know I was ragging on this game a little bit earlier on, and I feel like I wanted to be a little bit more harsh on this game, mainly just because, I do love the Avengers, I am a big fan, and I do believe that this game is going to get into the hands of a lot of, young fans and people getting new to gaming, and, I really want them to hit the ground running with gaming, to play. I wanted this to be more like Elder Sign, and it's not. And ultimately, I still think that's fine. Now, I will say the first time I played it, when we played with the rules wrong and we won super easily, I did not like it. I was like, this is dumb. This is so stupid. And when I realized I was playing that rule wrong, and I told my buddy Greg, I was like, dude, no, we were playing it super wrong. I actually played it again with him, and he was like, okay, this is a lot better this way. Because, I agree with Russ that you want co-ops to feel hard. And, you can homebrew it to kind of sort of make it feel a little bit more balanced. Or the way that you could kind of pretend that some of these cards trigger in a little bit different ways or whatever. At the end of the day, there's still really good mechanics here. I do really like the Infinity Stone counters. I really think this Thanos is really hard. And the fact that there's only 3 different ways that he can face, that's actually good. The lack of options there is really good. The icon spread across the different colors dice is good. It's really cool. That's why I'm harking so much on the negatives. I'm like, this could have been great. It's still a good game. It's still a lot of fun. It's still, for a lot of people, it's going to be right down their alley in complexity. But it could have been great. It had potential to be amazing. So even with that, even though I do still have those negatives of, oh, I wish they did this and I wish they did that, what they did was still pretty good.
And if any of that sounds good to you, we're going to have a purchase link in the description box down below. Go ahead and get yourself a copy. Treat yourself.
While you're down there, why don't you tell us who your favorite superhero is and subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
You don't even need to do that first thing. Just do the second thing. Because of the new lights, I can see your spit all over here.